Turtleboy dodges a bullet and doesn't go back to jail for insane rant at pizza shop. Did he really intimidate witnesses in the Karen Reed case? The strange saga of Chille's Angels takes off as the tag team of Thomas, LetzOTVO, Prowitzky and Matthew Jonesy Jones get arrested in New Mexico. We have an extended look back at Chille DeCastro's support of previous acolytes. Will they get burned like every other person who has relied on him? Or will they have sense enough to get their own legal representation? All this and more on this edition of Auditing Insanity. Good afternoon, and welcome to another combined edition of the Auditing Insanity Newscast, powered by ReallyCoolNews. I'm AI Johnny Jones, and I'm here to bring you the news for Thursday, March 6th and Friday, March 7th, 2025. Well, we have the case of Chille's Angels right in front of us. Thomas, LetzOTVO, Prowitzky and Matthew Jonesy Jones got arrested while on a snipe hunt for records and now face charges in New Mexico. While the pair are currently protégés of Jose Chille DeCastro, we take a look at what happened to his last few protégés and where they are now. With at least 2 former associates in jail, will Chille's Angels make 4? With that, I'm going to ask you to focus on
Delete Laws crowdsources after Chille's Angels arrest. Jose Chille DeCastro held what he claimed was an emergency live stream Wednesday night, which took in over $1,000 in donations to go towards the bond of DeCastro associates Jonesy and LetzOTVO, despite numerous sources telling DeCastro that the men do not need bail money. Thomas, LetzOTVO, Prowitzky and Matthew Jonesy Jones were apprehended at the Roundhouse, Mexico's state capitol building yesterday on charges of disorderly conduct and trespassing. The men were apparently sent there by longtime DeCastro associate Fred Bobby La Gutierrez to check and see if the police officers involved in a separate incident at Prowitzky's home had their oaths of office on file at the state treasurer's office. According to Prowitzky's account, the men attempted to film in the state treasurer's office as Prowitzky tried to file and inspect public records request. They were told not to film in the office and security were alerted, followed by a police presence on the scene. Prowitzky claimed that the men were not knowingly trespassed from the building, but left after they could not obtain service to do their requests and were told that they could file the requests online. Jones and Prowitzky went over to the Roundhouse to confront state legislators about the incident. When they arrived, Prowitzky claimed that an officer from the earlier incident recognized them and informed them that they had been previously trespassed from the Capitol. The men were then taken into custody as Prowitzky claimed they were leaving. The pair were separated as they were taken to the Santa Fe County Correctional Facility. Prowitzky was briefly taken to the hospital as he did not have his prescribed pain medicine with him and needed pain medicine for the evening to be issued. Eventually, both men, while handcuffed, were allowed the use of their cell phones and they both called DeCastro, who promised to raise money for their bond, despite both men explaining that New Mexico is a no-bond state. New Mexico's will release most offenders after seeing a judge as long as the offender is non-violent and not a threat to society. While noble, DeCastro's fans pitching in so much money was unnecessary due to the no-bond law and due to the fact Prowitzky made it clear he had enough money in his possession to cover bond if needed. DeCastro, knowing this, and being told by both men, Bobby Law and James Freeman, that no bond would be needed, did not attempt to stop his audience from sending him an influx of donations towards that goal. He would later state that all the money would be going to the men, including the memberships he received during the live stream. DeCastro would return Thursday afternoon as neither man had yet been released. After telling his fans to essentially call flood both the jail and the courthouse, DeCastro became frustrated when his calls would not go through. He eventually was notified that both men had seen a judge and had been released on their own recognizance. The YouTuber suggested to court worker that they expedite the release of the paperwork for the two men so they could get home to their families. He also informed the same worker that it's not their fault that they would be sued for a large settlement with thousands of people joining in on the lawsuit. This may have had something to do with DeCastro's surprise Wednesday night announcement of his new yet-to-be-named organization that promises to help with bail to the entire nation. Using technology, this organization would know when everyone in the United States would be arrested and promised to be able to help with releases of even non-First Amendment auditors. DeCastro was light on further details but promised that there was funding in place for this organization and a board of directors in place and would be launching within the next 4 weeks. As for Jones and Prowitzky, DeCastro had promised a second Thursday live stream announcing their release. Instead, he released a YouTube short video stating that our boys were released to go along with an earlier promise reducing the amount of money the men would receive to half of what he took in due to the YouTube tax. DeCastro's Constitution HQ board game was reportedly going to the printer on Friday, with DeCastro promising to show off how the game works this weekend.
More witness tampering charges for Turtleboy. Thursday saw an awful big sigh of relief for fans of Aiden Turtleboy Kearney as he walked out of the Norfolk Superior Court without changes to his bond after picking up new witness intimidation charges on Wednesday. Kearney was recorded standing in front of the pizza place owned by witness John O'Keefe murder trial witness Christopher Albert and making an extended statement aimed at Albert and his son Colin. Kearney said, "Hi Chris, what have you done? Murdered, misses you. Wishes he was alive today. He would be. Why did you do that, Chris? Chris, why did you tell the jury that you got home? Why did you say you went upstairs and then waited 15 minutes? Then Colin came home. Colin didn't make it home until at least 12:45, Chris. It was Colin, Chris. I just want to know why Colin took so long to get to your house. Why, Chris? Please tell me why. Colin did it. You can tell me, Chris. I know you didn't do it. I don't want to scare you. Tell Jill to keep their hands to herself, too." Upon seeing the video, Albert reported Kearney to police, which resulted in yet another felony witness intimidation charge against Kearney. Since they're related to the Karen Reed trial, where she is on trial for second-degree murder, Kearney is facing 20 years in jail for maximum sentencing instead of 10 years. Because the YouTuber looked directly into the establishment security camera and was not recorded by Kearney, the judge determined that Kearney was not making the statement for journalistic purposes. The judge, however, did not make changes to the conditions of Kearney's release as requested by the prosecutor. The prosecution had requested Kearney's release conditions change from a ROR bond to a $1,000 cash bond and $1,000 surety bond. Kearney's attorneys successfully argued against such changes, as bond is not supposed to be used to punish a defendant, and Kearney technically did not violate conditions of his release. Instead, the judge ruled that Kearney must stay away from prosecution witnesses in both his own cases and the Karen Reed murder case. At the request of his attorney, Tim Brattle, he was granted an exception when working as a journalist within a courtroom, where he can be near the witnesses as long as he behaves himself. Brattle had expressed concern that without this exception, witnesses would be able to stop Kearney from performing his job as a member of the press. Update: prosecutors in the Karen Reed murder trial announced late on Thursday that they were intending to use conversations between Kearney and Karen Reed at her second murder trial, which is set to begin on April 1st, 2025. Kearney was the leader of the Free Karen Reed movement in 2023 and arranged social media campaigns, protests at witnesses' houses and the courthouses involved in the case, and is alleged to have undertaken direct witness intimidation on behalf of the alleged murderer. The prosecution in the Karen Reed case is looking to use data obtained from when Kearney's multiple cell phones were confiscated as part of the investigation into the witness intimidation charges he is facing. Kearney's next court appearance in this case is scheduled for April 30th, 2025.
What does the future hold for Chille's Angels? Disciples of Jose Chille DeCastro, Thomas LetzOTVO Prowitzky and Matthew Jonesy Jones, Chille's Angels, literally made headlines over the past 3 days as they essentially got tricked into the auditing equivalent of a snipe hunt by Fred Bobby La Gutierrez and went to jail for it in New Mexico. After a night in jail and despite the current estimate of $2,000 taken in by DeCastro towards their bond/legal defense, which they'll get half, down from all of the money, the men are facing tremendous legal expenses if they decide to fight their charges. As he showed off his skills Wednesday night, DeCastro is a master of assembling a small group of people to come up with a fairly large number of cash donations. Last year, he showed this off by getting his fans to donate over $50,000 across his 4 GoFundMe campaigns, including one that was originally dedicated to helping non-DeCastro auditors for their legal defenses. DeCastro has been generous in the past with promoting the crowdsourcing campaigns of acolytes who are in favor with him. He, for example, at one point helped to raise over $4,000 for Press with Ranker's Defense Fund crowdsourcing campaign, which he allegedly personally managed. That campaign did fine until DeCastro and Press with Ranker owner Garrett Van Nett had a falling out over his felony conviction in September of 2024. Without DeCastro to promote the fund, it literally became frozen in time with donations ending literally the day DeCastro denounced Van Nett on the air. This is typical with DeCastro's protégés and hangers-on. If they're in favor, he'll promote their efforts, and they'll succeed until they eventually fall out of favor and the inevitable happens. Floyd Wallace is one of these former protégés, who fell out of favor in 2023. Floyd is currently sitting in jail in Oklahoma for a crime he committed while performing an audit on behalf of DeCastro. Wallace became excommunicated after allegations that he sexually assaulted Jason Dollarhide's wife Heather came to light. Wallace has floundered for the past 2 years without DeCastro, and it's reflected in his recently shuttered GoFundMe account that last pulled in donations a year ago. Another potential protégé and one-time possible love interest, Jessica Rage Girl Radio Tisiak, took interest in auditing from both DeCastro and Sean Paul Long Island Audit Reyes. When she attempted to audit a Department of Motor Vehicles facility in Pennsylvania and ended up arrested for trespassing, she caught the attention of DeCastro. DeCastro appeared enamored with the YouTuber despite the fact that she had a fiancé, and arranged to help pay for an attorney to defend her from the charges. Eventually, DeCastro paid her a visit when he was doing an East Coast swing, which resulted in DeCastro's ill-fated attempt to recreate her experience at the same DMV on the same day as her trial. Tisiak's lawyer was too busy with DeCastro to show up for her hearing, resulting in her conviction. Afterwards, Tisiak severed ties with DeCastro as she has thanked Reyes and not DeCastro in recent days for inspiring her to get into auditing. Her GoFundMe has sat at a single $20 donation for the 5 months since she opened it with no help in promoting it from either major YouTuber. Another YouTuber who came in and out of favor with DeCastro comes in the form of Jeremiah Payne. Once someone that DeCastro tried to help after a world-famous arrest, the pair fell out of favor as DeCastro failed to help Payne as he became increasingly demanding of DeCastro's time and efforts. While the pair recently briefly reconciled to a point, DeCastro did nothing to promote Payne's GoFundMe campaign, which has sat at $80 for the past year. Sometimes a creator can do everything right but isn't quite the fit that DeCastro likes and will not get promotion. Basil Beasy Watchdog Zanger has been a loyal soldier for DeCastro, going out of his way to stand up for all of DeCastro's causes and being a firm promoter of his products and ideals on each of his live streams. Zanger's problem? He's more of a shill for former DeCastro replacement host Michael Aline. There is bad blood because Aline's live streams on DeCastro's channel used to outdraw DeCastro's own live streams by a significant margin. While he's doing everything DeCastro asks and is a lapdog when needed, DeCastro will never pay Zanger back for his efforts. The Help Beasy Watchdog Hold Police Accountable GoFundMe campaign has sat for the past 2 months, raising $215 out of a goal of $2,500. Finally, there's the strange case of Craig Hendry. Hendry has been a real friend to DeCastro over the past 2 years. They've talked on the phone about the Constitution and their philosophies on life. If there's one person who could be described as an actual friend to DeCastro, it would be Henry. Henry's jailing in November of 2025 and his subsequent conviction brought many promises from DeCastro. Those included funding his commissary and help for his GoFundMe campaigns, including the campaign to fund Henry's appeal of his recent conviction. For his part, DeCastro completely ignored Henry's appeal campaign. It sat at $885 out of a goal of $15,000 for the past 3 months. Henry's generic GoFundMe, however, raised over $1,400 in the first few days of the year. It's still the overall leader from all of the campaigns we cover for the year, however. It fell off a cliff in mid-January when DeCastro became increasingly obsessed with finishing his Constitution HQ board game. It raised no money for February and has shot blanks for March. Its fate is in DeCastro's hands, and he has chosen to ignore it. So for Chille's Angels, our advice would be get outside legal help. Do not in any way, shape, or form rely on DeCastro for legal aid or legal advice. His history has shown that he is too volatile to rely on, and holding favor with him is important, even if he'll do little to actually help your eventual legal case. As far as fundraising, our advice is to take whatever money DeCastro is offering, then rely on outside sources for financing. If going the GoFundMe route, promote it before the news of the arrest fades and DeCastro simply forgets about any plight they may be going through. Chille's Angels' plight brought no impact to DeCastro's own crowdsourcing campaigns as he put up goose eggs for Thursday and Friday. Our own ongoing expenses fund won the day for Thursday with a $5 donation and Friday with a $70 donation, both sponsored by long-term hate watchers. Sadly, because of their actions of petty revenge, this column will live to see another week.
We need your help. Both ReallyCoolSite.org's daily newspaper and our daily newscasts are funded by your continuing donations and what we make from our YouTube AdSense revenue each month. If you'd like to contribute to help us keep the lights on, eating, keeping the cats fed and writing news stories to feature on both the newspaper and newscast each day, we do have a GoFundMe set up at the address on screen right now. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch our videos from beginning to end, like, share, subscribe and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and
we're back. Remember, it's the second week of Parson Friday on our wonderful 8 p.m. live stream tonight. Parson is a horrible, horrible person who helps keep the human servant Jim Finch writing the crowdsourcing columns each day. Jim in pain, Jim in pain. You know, we take back 1 or 2 of the bad things we've said about Parson over the past few minutes, as he's a good egg. Keep up the great work, Parson, and tonight, best of luck finding a wife. With that, I'm out of here. See you on the flip side.